Welcome back, ACPS staff. In this short video, we're going to talk about the first option for delivering a Nearpod lesson to your students, and that is to deliver from right here inside of Nearpod. In our next video, we're going to get into delivering a lesson through Canvas and all of the benefits that come from delivering a lesson from inside of Canvas. But let's imagine in this scenario that you don't have a Canvas course where you are connected to your participants or attendees in the lesson that you want to deliver. Maybe it's professional development, maybe it's some other group meeting where you've created something in Nearpod, you want to deliver it, but not to a group that you have a Canvas course where you all are connected. So we're going to do our first example here, delivering directly from Nearpod, and see how that works and talk a little bit about the live participation and student-paced options. So here I am once again on my Nearpod dashboard. And when you are ready to deliver a lesson, you're going to hover right over the thumbnail for that lesson, and you're going to choose the option Teach. And that's going to give you two choices. Do you want to deliver this as a live participation or student-paced? So let's pause here and let's talk about these two options. Live participation is paced or controlled by the teacher. Everyone is on slide 1 until the teacher chooses to progress to slide 2, and then all attendees in the lesson also move to slide 2. If the teacher chooses to go back to slide 1, everyone in the session is moved back to slide 1. So the teacher is controlling the pace. This is great if you are face to face with everyone and you need to get through the lesson in the time that you have allotted for the lesson delivery. The other option is student paced. Student paced means the students control the pace of their own learning. So one student might be on slide number 1, somebody else might be on slide number 6, and they can move backwards and forwards in the lesson at their own pace as they choose. This is great for differentiation, but it's also super important if you want to use a Nearpod lesson for homework. You're always going to choose student-paced in that scenario so that the students can work through the lesson on their own outside of the classroom. So let's go ahead and choose live participation first and take a look at our options for a live participation lesson. The immediate option that you get is to give your attendees a join code. So this 5-character code right here would allow me to have my participants join my lesson. So I could write this on a whiteboard, I could project this on my screen. If the attendees are all face to face with me, drop it in the chat if we're meeting via some sort of a virtual meeting. And for my attendees, I'm going to switch to a different view. They would find under their hamburger menu when they go to Nearpod a field right here to enter in that teacher's join code, and they would simply put that in and click join. So very easy for them to utilize the join code to get into your lesson. The other option that you have that works well in AACPS is to copy a link here. That way they don't have to worry about logins, they don't have to worry about going to nearpod.com. They can simply take the link that you email to your participants or that you drop in the chat in one of those virtual meetings, and they can pop right into your lesson very quickly. Both of those options work great in AACPS. Then we've got some options below to consider. By default, hand raising is turned on. This gives attendees in your lesson a hand raise icon that they can alert you that they have a question, a concern, they need you to clarify something while you are working through the lesson material. The next one is student reactions. These are common things we find in our virtual conferencing, like thumbs up to indicate that they understand, thumbs down if they don't understand, applause, things like that. Another one to consider is a co-teacher link. If you turn on the co-teacher link, you get a link that appears at the bottom of this share window that you can give to a co-teacher. This gives them permissions kind of in between the teacher who can control the pace of the lesson and the students who are kind of view only in the lesson. Co-teachers would be able to actually see the students' submissions just like the teacher would for any of the activities here. So I'm going to turn that back off, and then I'm just going to close this window so we can see what the lesson delivery window looks like here behind. So this is the teacher's view here. You can see that we're on slide number 1. This is what I would be presenting to my students right now. And when I click the arrow to progress to slide number 2, all of my students in the session are pushed to slide number 2 as well. One really cool feature that a teacher has when delivering a live lesson is down here in the corner, you can turn on student paste. So even though I chose live lesson or live participation, I can actually set some of the slides to be self-paced for the students in my session. So I might take them whole group through the first 5 slides and then tell them to work through slides 6, 7, and 8 on their own. And I can simply set that by clicking on the student paste icon in the bottom right down here, and then choosing the slides that I want to allow them to progress on their own. They would be able to move back and forth between those slides, but they wouldn't be able to visit anything before or anything after until I turn off student paste and take them through in the live participation as the teacher again. So very cool feature that is enabled when you choose live participation. So you can still differentiate even if you're doing a live participation lesson by choosing certain slides that you want them to be able to work through on their own. I'm going to close this window down here, and then I'm actually going to exit out of this lesson and take you back to the Nearpod dashboard. So I'm going to select on the same thumbnail again, and I'm going to choose Teach so that we can talk a little bit more detail on the Student Paste option. So now I'm going to choose Student Paste. The options are pretty much exactly the same. You're given a code that you can share with your participants. You're given a link that you could share with them, but then there are some different options. For example, by default, a student-paced lesson is available for 29 days. Oftentimes, if we want to do something in a professional development manner, you might want people to be able to come back and revisit some of the content that you included in a Nearpod lesson. And if they're going to do that, it's possible they might want to do that anytime in the school year. And if that's the case, you can actually set a Nearpod lesson to be available for up to 365 days. So I can go all the way forward to June, the end of this school year, as we start the 25-26 school year. And I can say, I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's say the last day of school is June 19th. This lesson will now be available until June 19th for anybody who has the code or the link to come back into self-paced and re-access the content that's contained in here. So you can see this lesson will now be open for 309 days because I changed those settings. Another thing to consider is if you have particular activities, if you have an interactive video, if you have a quiz in here, you want to ensure that students respond and cannot skip any of that content. You'll notice that that is on by default, but you can turn it off if you don't want to enforce them going through in sort of that linear fashion where they have to complete each activity. So a couple of different options when doing a student-paced activity. So this has been a short video tutorial on delivering a lesson from right here inside of Nearpod.